Oh, well, hello everyone. Welcome to Holochain ecosystem session. Delightful guests today. We have Dr. Jörg Wurzer from Volla and Dr. Eric Harris-Braun from Holochain, and all sorts of people in the background. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the origins of the Volla Holochain um, partnership, the current implementation, some of the technology solutions, what's shipping, how it's all working, get a little bit of demos, and we've got people waving devices around and all sorts of things. And then some of the what's possible and the implications, and what this might mean in the future for mobile communications, telecommunications, etc. So it's wonderful to have you both here. It's been many years in the making.
Thank you.
Hello.
Super. Now, Dr. Werther, do you want to give maybe, I don't think the community knows you that well, so maybe a brief introduction, and then we'll go on to a little bit of the background and context setting for this.
Sure. Thank you very much for collaboration and invitation to that live stream. Yeah, I'm Dr. Jörg Wurzer. I studied originally philosophy with a focus on epistemology, and this still helps me to think some things differently. And then after my studies and academic publications, I was working 15 years as a journalist for German newspapers like Die Welt, Süddeutsche, but also Financial Times Germany. And finally, I started to become an entrepreneur. And Volla System is not the first one, but it's now, I'm more than 100% working on Volla. And it's not only business, it's a passion to bring good products to the people.
Super. Okay. And talk us through, I think we first talked, was it like about 2 years ago? I have to go back into I'll go back into my emails in a second. But yeah, take us back into that time where you were, what were you looking for? Here we go. Yeah, no, the February 2023. I think we had our first conversation. Tuesday, the 14th of February. So yeah, take us back if you can remember back then, and what were you looking for? And yeah, what were you looking for Volla? What was the gap that you saw at that time, and why did you get in touch?
Yeah, to give a little bit more context for some people that don't know me. So Volla Sistema is a company that I founded 2017 to prepare a different smartphone. The big picture is a free and independent infrastructure of communication. And a smartphone is an essential part of it. But already in the early stage of that company, it was clear that I need to think about the cloud, how we use it today, like the iCloud and the Google Cloud. It's one part to offer people something that protect their privacy, but also to bring back to the people at the same time the convenience people are used to have with iCloud or Google Cloud. And I was looking for a technology that is sufficient for that target. We discussed a lot of blockchain technology, and that is commonly discussed in many media. It's a trend topic. And I came to the conclusion that it can't be a blockchain technology for several reasons. And then Volla Systeme is a community-driven company. We are developing with and for the community. And it was one contact in our community who was working as a developer for the Holochain community. And that he came up, I have some idea that could match to the whole Volla idea. And then I invited him to the Volla Community Days 2 years ago. This is our yearly event that we have to invite consumer customers, users, vendors, also developers for a hackathon. And that was the first time when this developer introduced Holochain to our community, to me, and already participated with another colleague from Wales, I think his name was Nick, who participated in the hackathon and presented the early prototype, how a Holochain app or feature could work on a smartphone. And this is the beginning of a super inspiring and motivating story.
Yeah. It really is, isn't it? Well, do you want to take us through some of the steps over that last couple of years, Dr. Verta, and then Eric, maybe jump in and we'll keep one thing at a time. If you want to take us through some of those steps, because I definitely remember that. Yeah, Nick and Hidayat at the community days a couple of years ago. Yeah,
it was this name I really difficult to remember.
Yeah, I remember the live stream. For those of you who are interested, I'm pretty sure Nathan could pull that up. But the live stream from that community day and the more recent one are still available. So it's also pretty crazy to go back and see the progress.
Yeah, so maybe some also additional context for Volla Systeme. So it's not my first company. So I started with a different approach and also with a very systematic way to evolve or develop the whole vision and product. We started with research and development, not only on the technical level. I also was working with a focus group to test all the iterations for the user interface. Maybe it's important to know if people are interested in Volla. There's a twofold motivation in the company. One is the convenience, because I realized that technology is occupying time and attention of people. And the second part is that the privacy, or let's say that people can decide on their own with whom they share which data. So this is the reason why we started with a focus group with careful research and development for base technology. Yeah, and when we came to the point 2022 to think about implementing the cloud, we have also need to pass several steps, legal steps, but also to talk about the disadvantages of blockchain and why Holochain is not a blockchain technology. I call it a post-blockchain technology. And we discussed the pain points in the beginning. One pain point I asked is, so we all know that the blockchain at some point will explode in our faces because the data is accumulating. There's no way to delete data. This is an essential feature. It sounds trivial, but it isn't. that data can be removed. It's very important for cloud use cases. And together, I was so happy to find out that your engineers have a solution for it. And the second one is also that a big challenge that your engineers have managed. How can we port a technology that is made for powerful computers, maybe even servers? How can we port them to lightweighted smartphones? And we need to take care about energy and memory consumption. Also another big challenge. And I was so happy that we made progress to find solutions on that. And how can we bring that technology on mobile devices? Yeah, and here we are. We have a lot of homeworks still to do. We have a lot of plans about features, but we created the fundaments for a new ecosystem for cloud computing.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe Eric, this is a good opportunity for you to jump in, talk a little bit about um, your vision, your response to what Dr. Wirtz is talking about this, new opportunities for cloud computing, and then shift into some of the things that have been built.
Yeah, okay, sure. Um, so I didn't know, Dr. Wurzer, that your background is in philosophy and epistemology, and it kind of all makes sense to me. First of all, I want to say that I love hearing that, because that's also been like that whole level of what we're up to. It just lands really strongly for me, um, and so I'm thinking also about your statement about the cloud and a new way of looking at the cloud and the match between what is epistemologically necessary, the actual theory of how this has to work, um, and land to meet the goals that you're talking about, the goals of usability and the ability for the technology to actually be in the hands of the end user. And so I want to just say one little piece about that I think might be useful. Um, and it's a little philosophical, but I'm just going to go for it because I think it actually matches where we're at right here. So I've been testing this theory or this understanding that I've had that the internet protocol, the IP protocol, is the first time on the planet when the the cost of sending a message from one computer to another computer dropped to just the cost of owning the infrastructure. Before that, there was always a per message cost, right? You paid for a telephone per minute, you paid for the stamps for messages, you paid for a messenger. There's something that happened, which is dropping even digital infrastructure before then, networked infrastructure, the price of sending a piece of data was in the packet, in the protocols.
Mm.
And in the internet protocol, that was left out. And it had this huge effect, the effect of dropping the cost to being just the cost of owning the infrastructure together. And all of a sudden we can do that. And the same thing happened with the web. The web dropped the cost of publication to just owning the infrastructure. Before that, we had to pay somebody, an intermediary, to publish for us. And so I think almost, it might not be epistemologically, but it's certainly like along the same pattern philosophically. What the vision that you're seeing and pointing to is that we need a cloud where the cost of the cloud is reduced to the people who own the infrastructure. And the whole intention of Holochain from the beginning was to make this kind of infrastructure. This is a Volaphone Quintus that I just got in the mail yesterday. So nice. That these devices are powerful enough that we could create social spaces or social interaction, which is what these cell phones, these mobile devices are all about, and which is what you pointed to, the technology in our lives, that the cost of being able to do that messaging be reduced to owning the infrastructure. And by cost, I don't just mean monetary cost. I also mean the social costs, the costs of attention and time that are forced on us by the fact that there's an intermediary in there. And so I think you recognized that that even though the vision of blockchains was to do that, that technologically they didn't quite meet that threshold because there's still the intermediary of miners or stakers, which is it's great. It's an advancement in the technology or the theoretics of doing distributed computing, but Holochain doesn't do that. Like the IP protocol, it is a protocol for allowing these social spaces to exist just on the technology we have without having to log in to the intermediary servers that hold that for us. And so I just want to hold that because you saw that vision. I think it leaked across and you realized, oh, we can do that. And yeah, there are technological problems. And so then that's what we did. Like, I don't know exactly when we started, but we said, okay, having this relationship and actually landing a Holochain in the mobile context is a strategic goal for us. Here we have this very aligned party who wants to do that. And we can work together both on user interface and on the technology, and we can bring it there. And we know there will be difficulties. And so we spent that last year developing Volla Messenger, which is now on the Quintus, shipped with it, very, very normal chat app. It's a messenger app, but there's no servers. There's no servers in the middle. And that's really, really exciting that we actually were able to get to that point and be able to ship it to your customers with this round of the Quintus.
Thank you very much. Can I comment something?
Yeah, please.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad that you how you explain it. I think it's somehow the feeling to go back to the enthusiasm regarding internet in the 80s or 70s about a free space for communication. And from the 80s to now, we have a evolution that big tech is already dominating, and it's like that we go back to mainframe computer approach with thin clients around it. So I think if we now, we are now going somehow back to the original idea of that connected devices of a free space of communication. And I think a serverless, or let's say an infrastructure without a central management or central instance like computer centers, it's the only way to provide a cloud in a free society that protects the people freedom and freedom of decision. We have some very also ongoing laws of that makes that independent distributed networks necessary in my point of view. It's the only way to be free, because then communication again is just a matter between the people that stay into contact. Like if you go into a park and meet someone and talk to each other. So this is a good metaphor for that network we establish.
Yeah.
And I think indeed. So it was for me very important to be very clear in the beginning for the consumers and customers to show a real use cases in the beginning. So we have chosen 2 use cases. One is smart backup solution of your content on your smartphone. So if you lose your smartphone or the smartphone is broken, you can easily recover it from the distributed cloud that is maybe established by your friends and family. And then we have, as you say, the Volla Messenger or Volla Messages app. And I think text chat is just the beginning. We will soon talk about audio and video messaging or calls, and maybe also something more to include features into a Volla Messages app. So this is very concrete, and I think this collaboration could really make a difference because this is pre-installed on our devices. And that could leverage the acceptance of this new tool because there are so many good tools out, and they have all the challenge that they need to reach a critical mass of users. And I think if we put it on that device and we make progress, that the brand awareness and the sales figures are growing, that people start at least playing around with it, they will definitely love it. And this is an opportunity for both of us and whole users that will benefit from it, that it will come together with a device.
Um, Maybe Eric, do you want to show us a little bit? Is that possible?
I'm sorry, I didn't really prepare for that. But maybe Dr. Bertzer has it up. Or hold on a second. Maybe I have it here. So I didn't install it on the Volla phone that came. It came last night. So I didn't have it there.
It's already pre-installed,
Yeah.
should be. So this
Yeah.
is my Volla phone.
Go ahead, you show
And
it.
I
Yeah.
think I didn't prepare also screen mirroring or something like that. And here we have the Volla Messages app that starts here. And currently it's just a text messaging app, but people can also share photos. Soon they can share other files. And as I said, we have a lot of ideas what we can do with the Volla Messages app. Very interesting point that I may highlight. So the Volla Messages app is able that you can create contacts with people and an ensured identity. So we found a way that you create contacts and you know, yes, this is my friend, this is my husband, my wife, or whatever. So you have people in your contact book of the Volla Messages app where you know that these are the right people. And you can create one-to-one or group chats with that people. But we
Yeah,
have
I
done
can show you. Here is the Vola beta group up and running on this
Oh,
phone. Oh,
fabulous.
right. And so we have photographs in there and some of the chats that we were doing when we were testing this out in the beta channel. So
and the beta channel is an example of another kind of a group or communication that is not only private messaging in family and friends or company, it's also a kind of moderated group where you can invite people with an invitation link. And that could replace something like Telegram, where you publish and discuss in a more public group but controlled group. I think this is also a very, very nice feature of the Volla Messages app. And this
Agreed.
is
So, Eric, you talked a little bit about, and I think this is one of the things people find confusing about messaging because I think people assume messages are peer-to-peer, and with no servers. So, can you talk a tiny bit about the difference between this and other messaging apps we're used to using?
yeah. So the thing is that the data is not stored on the end devices only. It is in servers in between
Yep.
for all of them. Right? There is computer out there on the cloud that is not that is required to be able to do the operation, to be able to be in in Signal or to be in any one of the messaging apps, you can't do it just with your end devices. You have to be connected to the intermediaries. You have to log into their systems, literally. The record of who you are is there. It's not on your device. And so
Yeah.
that app that I showed you, the one that is the Vola beta group, this one has 21 members in it. Yeah, I don't know if you can read it at the very top. It says 21 members. All
Yep.
of the data is stored on those 21 members' computers. And right, that's where the data is. It's nowhere else.
So that's even Signal, which is secure messaging. That isn't the case, correct? In
Well,
Signal
I
and
don't know the depths of that, but I'm pretty sure it's not the case because otherwise, how
yep,
would you be able to get the data when you get a new phone? It's being
yep,
stored, maybe encrypted on some central server. So the encryption is fantastic. It's really good. And so there is security, but essentially the service requires the centralized intermediary to run it.
yep,
This does not. We have a social space, the beta group, that does not require anybody but those 21 people who want to do it. Just like Dr. Vertzer said, you go to the park and you have a conversation. You invite somebody over to your house and you have a conversation. You don't have to have somebody in the middle writing down your message to. You give it to the person in the middle and then they give it to the next person. That's gone,
yep.
right?
Yeah, and
That's
it even you can connect to yourself, maybe to your PC. So the Volla Messages app is also available for other desktop operating systems.
Mhm.
And this is nice. What Apple announced as a big feature, continuous, I think I don't know how they name it exactly, but it's kind of continuous writing. You can leave your MacBook and continue write on your iPhone. And this is really is a part of that whole concept in the Volla Messages app. You can install it on your PC and you can continue writing on it. It's implicit. This is very, very nice.
right.
And
With
I also appreciate the definitely some hard work on the user interface. And you have also a brilliant interface designer who faced the challenge to translate technological stuff like exchanging keys that no usual people understand in a kind of flow of contacting people and getting a confirmation of contact. This is also, it has a lot of aspects to make a successful product on it. So
yeah,
this is also amazing how it evolves.
yeah.
Well, there you go.
And
You see, we got a
security,
message. It's been nice to use the Volla messages with my family for several weeks. Works well with these Android phones and my PC. Good to hear there are more features coming later.
and security has a lot of aspects. Also, when we come to the outlook or the impact or the potential, then we have also security in the sense of reliability. So if the infrastructure of internet, how we know it, is broken, then we can still be connected by these devices and continue to communicate. And this is our outlook. What we plan, what's most likely will come, is that we have with the Volla Cloud powered by the Holochain pattern or technology, how you name it, we have a distributed computing, distributed data storage, but the next level is also to have a distributed infrastructure of transferring data. And we are preparing with another partner a meshnet technology, even a radio meshnet technology to achieve the next step so that we are totally independent, whatever happens. So even a blackout or something. So go back to the Volla Cloud powered by Holochain. Security, yes, it's fully encrypted. Only every communication happens only by the connected devices of people you trust, but it's also very robust. No one can turn off the server so that you can't get your photos or your messages anymore. So this is also a level of security that some people don't have in mind. That is another advantage of that approach.
I think that's you're speaking to something really important there, is that we get, again, philosophically, we get ontologically confused about the meaning of certain words, privacy, security.
Yeah.
Like often in the world of the internet, we think of privacy is what we're actually talking about is secrecy, that I can keep my information hidden from you. But
Mm-hmm.
privacy, as an ontological notion, has much more to do with control. Like
Mm-hmm.
private property is not secret, it's just under your control. It's not public property. It is a space that you have control over. And then secrecy is if people can't see inside a space. And so when you're speaking of privacy, I really think it's important to think about that notion of control and the systemic safety that is provided by the pattern. And so when you say no one can shut it off, that even means by accident. Like if there's a problem with the server farm where that power gets shut down, all of that communication goes down for everybody who's using it. So systemically, it's a different risk than if my phone drops in the water, then okay, I lost my data. But systemically, the capacity for people to be in group chat didn't go away.
Yeah,
So
we have
there's a different
economic.
place where the risk is shifted to. It's not like there's no risk and there's no problems, but the risk gets shifted from a honeypot in the middle. And when you have that kind of scaling in the middle, it creates all kinds of complexity and difficulty. And it creates incentives to go and hack into that space. It creates incentives for different types of regulation. It creates incentives for control and being able to own that, to be able to extract value for it. It's just, these are normal properties of systems when you have that kind of concentration in one spot. So changing the architecture to have this distribution creates a whole different ecosystemic reality, not without problems and difficulties like Dr. Verzer was talking about. But I think this philosophical approach is why this is so exciting, right?
Yeah,
Because then it
so
also means you can do what Dr. Verzer is saying. We can do mesh networks, and we can take that, not that level of security, to another place, the place of the information transfer, as well as the patterns of how the data is stored on the devices. But it's very
yeah, I'm
exciting.
very glad about that inspiration of your words. So it's twofold, and it's a big topic, and we can only sketch it. So, but indeed, also the cloud computing approach with computer centers, it's a huge economic risk. Because if Amazon or Google would shut down their servers, the economy would also shut down. It's a huge economic risk. But this is some topic we can also discuss more. And I like another inspiration from your side about privacy, what it means. Some people say, I don't have to hide something. I'm an honest person, but this is a wrong way. It's not only about that I'm monitored or I don't want to get advertising. It's much more. So the smartphones and the apps and the search engines are also designed to process usage profiles for an intention. The intention is to provide content and features, also to control or motivate people to act in a way that big tech or some other organization would like to see. This is something that people are not so aware about it. If they search and they leave traces and the search results are shown up and they're not objective, they have some algorithms for the people. So if I use a smartphone that is under control of Apple because it's totally connected to the iCloud on many levels of the operating system. I am also somehow controlled by the system. And this is some aspect of privacy people don't see, but it's very essential. It's much more important than that I don't want to see some advertising.
Yeah. There are a couple of other practical questions before we go into. So, someone's asking any news when we will be able to update Volla Messenger on Quintus. I'm stuck on 0.7.
It's currently we ship the Vollaphone Quintus with pre-install Volla Messages app 0.7.0. We are, I think in the next couple of days, we are publishing the monthly update with an update also of the Volla Messages app. And we will introduce then another way to more frequently update the Volla Messages app for the non-technicians. For the technicians, so we have, there are two app stores on the Vollaphone Quintus with Volla OS. It's Aurora. It's a kind of intermediate for secure and anonymous download and installation of apps of Google Play Store. And we have F-Droid for open source alternative apps for many use cases. And F-Droid knows so-called repositories, and we have an own or repository for or source for apps that can be updated. And here we will publish frequently Volla Messages app and also others like the recovery app that will be maybe in the end of this year published in a first beta release.
Perfect. Okay, a couple more rapid fire style questions, Dr. Versa. Is anyone making protection covers for Volla phones, maybe designed for 3D print accessories, could be made available?
Can you rephrase? Protection? Protection case. Yeah,
Yes.
so the Vollaphone Quintus is delivered with transparent back shell.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, we are on the way to design and produce a bookcase that is made in the neighborhood from our subsidiary, our head office. So it will be a very elegant and high quality leather bookcase. And this will come. The prototype is in the office. I need to review it. And then we need to decide about the color and the leather quality. And it will a product that our users hopefully like very much.
Perfect. The next one is where can you buy the Volla phones, Quintus and other makes, and I think like how many phones are out there? How many customers do you have?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I tell you the honest figures. We have not the numbers of Apple and Samsung, but I'm proud that we launched the first Vollaphone in 2020. And in the meantime, we sold more than 15,000 devices in over 55 countries of the world. I can tell you that I funded the company with a budget of 5,000 euro. And with hard work and a different approach, no venture capital, we are now here. And you can buy it in our online shop. For people outside the European Union or EFTA states like Switzerland, you can get it via Indiegogo. And we have a growing number of business partners and retailers in Europe and soon also in the USA. For instance, there's RLM Solutions as our US distributor. USA is a special market. We can talk about it. Yeah, so you're welcome to get your Volla phone, and I am happy to welcome new users.
And are all the components made in Germany? Oh, so
a smartphone is a very complex product, and a complex product has a complex supply chain. In our case, it starts in Taiwan because we are using system on a chip of MediaTek. And then it goes over many steps. One important step is a board designer who decides about other components like the display. And indeed, the final step, the final production steps, in particular, the security-related steps, are done on-site in Remscheid. Maybe no one knows it. It's a town in Germany where also the devices are flashed. So the operating system is also produced on German and Finnish servers with a team that is directly hired by Volla. So we don't do any software outsourcing. We have just trustworthy partners like the Holochain Foundation or the UB-Ports Foundation for Ubuntu Touch, for instance. So we have a complex supply chain, and the final production steps are made in Germany, on-site in Remscheid, and we have also some German components, like we have shot glass at the top. It's very hard German glass.
super. Okay. And then the final one that's come through is, how do you think the adoption of Holochain and Volla's technologies could impact trust in centralized systems and their influence on market dynamics?
The question is, I'm not sure whether I understand it. The question is whether the Volla cloud could gain trust for centralized cloud.
No, yeah, well, I think it's basically saying, as these solutions gain traction, what are the implications for trust? Like, does that mean people would trust centralized cloud less, for example, or when we're talking about privacy and security?
Yeah, first of all, we have the opportunity to bring that technology to the mass market, to the people that are not technicians, that are just users. I think this is a huge opportunity that we have. And if it works easily, then it also gains trust and people start use it. And if hopefully in the next Volla Community Days, we can introduce a dev kit so that third parties can even contribute with other use cases to that ecosystem. And then it becomes, the very vivid alternative to the other cloud systems that we know. And it's also very important that the application is available for other operating systems. I think it's even essential so that the more people can use it without any limitations. And I hope that we can offer soon all that apps in the well-known app stores of big tech, so we get the awareness of the people.
Yep. Okay, here you go. There's another one. How does Volla Messenger protect against government overreach? Will governments be able to see and access at will, or are users protected against this?
It's a very good question, and I think it was already in that talk here answered that this is just a matter So if people communicate with Volla messages, it's just a matter of the people that are meeting, like a
Yeah.
physical meeting in a park and we have a very restrict law in Europe. We needn't go into details. It's the Digital Service Act. In US, you have the Cloud Act. And the perfect aspect of that whole solution is it's totally compliant to law because we don't run a platform.
Yeah.
So we are totally compliant to the European Digital Service Act because it doesn't touch us. It's something else. We don't run a platform. And we put the communication into the hands of the people that are deciding about with whom and what they're talking to.
Fantastic. So I want to spend the last like 10 minutes or however long, um, although it's nearly midnight here, so
Yeah,
it's not going to be too long.
thanks for your
Just talking,
flexibility.
just talking about the future possibilities, because I think we've touched on the idea of cloud computing essentially going to zero. We've touched on the concept of a really important concept just then of imagine the implications of when our computing environment meets how we interact in a park. We've touched on, Dr. Verzi, you touched on a little bit some of the, I think it was like the mesh radio wave capabilities and what might be unlocked there. We've touched on points around like slightly like inversions of privacy and security. Yeah, what for both of you, I don't mind whoever wants to jump in first, but what are the kind of possibilities that what we're seeing here today, just with Volla Messenger as a starting point and this local distributed cloud, like what are the possibilities that you both see for future applications, for future use? Um, I'd love to get a sense.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to go back to the vision that a free society needs a free and independent infrastructure of communication. This is a big picture, and this is very important. Also, if we think about the social and political development in the world. And yeah, the potential of it's huge. So if we have a decentralized computing and even a decentralized infrastructure, it's people we give back the control to the people, and it's also robust against blackouts. We may have more and more problems in Europe with this topic. So we have really a robust infrastructure for communication. That is my vision. And the ideas for cloud computing are are similar to the features that are available with the iCloud, but even more. So we can reinvent the way of collaboration. So not only exchanging messages, maybe that people work together on a document. So since we are also offering tablets, we are targeting the education market. So I think what will come soon, we should also talk about this, is a classroom app. So we are in contact with a lot of schools and cities about education. Or if we talk about, this is the next big topic on our agenda, it's about currency, exchanging, paying for money. And I don't want to go in depth. It's too early for that. But yeah, there are so many things we can do. And if we really realize that we have infrastructure that is independent on the cellular network, then we can introduce cellular networks in places that are destroyed by war or catastrophes. But if you go back in our cities, think about what it means that you never need to pay anymore for AT&T or whatever. This is also a good impact. And this comes back what previously was said about paying for infrastructure as one of the main impacts of introduction of internet. And so I think it's a consequent evolution here.
Yeah, if I can build on that a little bit. So, I mean, Dr. Werther, you talked about a lot of things that we're protecting, that this kind of way of looking protects against. But I want to try to open up a little bit of vision about what can be done, what the new opportunities are. And so the way I want to share that is to think about what happened when the cost of publishing was removed with the web. So the web is a publishing platform. And so the things that have happened, the economies that have come into being because because everybody can publish, right? That has spawned millions, literally millions of types of ways of interacting and being because of that new capacity to be able to publish based on the fact that we have a computer. I can make a computer, I can put a web server on it. It's very easy for people to have a web server. So this whole capacity to publish is distributed around the world really, really quickly, right? That created a whole new, not just a single economy, it created a platform for millions of economies. And the same thing happens when what we are creating is this capacity to create social groups that isn't held in the center. So this is the thing about the web publishing protocols, HTTP, HTML, those are publishing protocols. They're not group forming protocols. They're not protocols that allow groups to form and organize with each other. Holochain, and built on the kind of platform of communication tech like Dr. Verster is talking about that is not held hostage by companies in the middle, creates that kind of collaborative space, a space of a group of people operating by a set of rules together, a space of engagement. So chat is one space of engagement. Backup of data is another space of engagement. Having different ways of exchanging and seeing what we value together, you don't have to go all the way to currencies. You can just go to which are good restaurants that are not mediated by somebody with a third intention, a hidden intention, right? That's actually something that's held by the group of people who are holding that. So what happens is incredible when you have the protocol level adoption of that, not just the capacity of it, right? You know, AOL, when the internet first showed up with Genie and all of these internet service providers at the very beginning, AOL looked like the current web, but it wasn't because it held all the cards in its hands about the web. It was just wrapping a owned web around email, which was the open protocol. So you have this evolution that Dr. Werther is talking about because the capacities show up. So for me, what I'm really, really interested in is imagine the mixture on my device of the things that I put together where all that data is local here, and I don't have to log into this person's website, and it creates what do they call it? An integration with the other website, right? Notice that the intermediary has to create the integration for you to be able to have your Kanban board from Trello go onto your Slack chat. That's not in my hands. That's in Trello and Slack companies' ability to do that. This technology inverts that and means that the integration happens at the edges. So I'm speaking abstractly because it is an abstract thing. You don't get to see what the economies are that get produced by that abstract capacity until they get produced. You couldn't have predicted YouTube or TikTok before the internet came on. You couldn't have predicted 4chan or the darker things. You can't really predict what happens with that. But it is a whole new economy, and economy isn't even the right word. It's a whole new space of capacity that shows up because of this, and things are built on top of it. And this kind of tooling with this kind of approach, which is fundamentally different. It's fundamentally different, even though it doesn't look like it. That that's really, really, really interesting.
I like your inspiration and also the social dimension that it's an opportunity to create groups. And this technology or pattern can have a huge impact on social and economic life. So, in the last years, when Europe, in particular Germany, ran into economic trouble, we have a lot of initiatives, local initiatives. That, by the way, was also a group that where your developer come from to us.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of groups in Germany, in Netherlands, in Sweden, that are where local or regional economies are started or created by the people that start to trade between themselves to bypass all the limitations of a weak economy. And this is a huge, makes a huge difference.
Yep.
Maybe how economy and society will look like in the future. And it's a good news for the mankind. We have a lot
I
of
mean,
contacts to this kind of groups. Some are organized just informal. Some are organized as a company or as a foundation or as a Verein, as we say in Germany. So there are so many different groups. Some of them will disappear, some of them will evolve and really make a difference.
I mean, I don't think I can top that.
Thank you. Yeah.
And you're right. Maybe we don't need currency in the way we are used to have currency to exchange goods. So in a community, you can find different rules to exchange goods and services.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is very amazing and very inspiring to think about it. And yeah, also developer will be invited to contribute to that ecosystem. And I'm happy to that these two that we are both crazy teams that are working on that kind of stuff. I'm happy to have that here. And
It's
everything is open source. We should also highlight, and people are invited who are skilled to have a look at the code and contribute.
Yeah.
it's funny because today I spent 8 hours driving at like about 5 kilometers an hour behind a group of students on a bike ride. And so I was the support vehicle, and there was one of a woman helping out who was like the support cyclist, and we were chatting in the morning about just how the previous day was, and she was saying that she had to come to a deep understanding very quickly of the individual people and what might motivate them. And said she shared with someone one of the kids Spinoza says, and he's like, "Oh, I love Spinoza." And so they went into a deep discussion on different philosophers, and then into social societal structures. And then, we started talking a little bit about that, and she's like, well, what do you do? Um, and and so we sort of touched the surface, but it's a funny, because that was at the almost the start of my day, and this is at the end of my day. It's a funny circle. I guess it's a relatively normal circle, but it's still a very rewarding one. But really, even in that moment, it doesn't matter where you are. There's that hunger for how philosophy and technology can co commingle to also enable these new forms of collaboration, which is kind of like then spurs a whole new bunch of philosophy on what's possible. And it was funny how we really were having that exact conversation this morning around what are the possibilities for how we can communicate. And it's even more pertinent because the fact is that collaboration was just in person, right?
Yeah.
It, exactly. And what I was trying to, like, inarticulately then describe is what you're talking about. It's the ability for our technology to actually provide exactly the same, I guess, experience, and just extend the in person into various forms, and then layer on top of that. It was very, very, very exciting.
Yeah,
What
so it
so
should be technology should be people and contract centric. And so also we introduced a different user interface approach to help people to free their mind and to be focused on the things that matters. And this is usually not the digital world. These
Yeah.
are the real people, the real social connections, and the things and values we create in our life. And therefore, for some people, it's quite new if they start a Volla phone at the first time because they just see a red dot and a text field. They can use it. That's my promise. Also in a classical way with the apps you start. But one idea is if you play around with it, you may like it, that you just interact immediately with the device. You put it out of your topic pocket and you write just a message in the smart text field. So be focused, stay present in the real life, and be connected with your real friends, family, and other people. This is important. A very philosophical point of view.
So just one more thing that I want to say about it, which flips to the other side, is I want to just express a gratitude, right? The gratitude that we have this conversation that is about our inspiration and our philosophy. But Dr. Wertzer has put together molecules, like actual molecules in a box.
Mhm.
It's like it's all about actually doing things and landing it. And that is what we're doing in the Holochain Foundation and all of our and at Holo. It's we're actually trying to land this stuff. How do you take these ideas and land them in the world as it is right now?
Mhm.
It's idealism applied and landable now. And do we run into problems? And have we had problems getting across thresholds? And has it taken us longer to do? I'm sure that's happened to you too, Dr. Wertzer.
Mm.
But we are actually committed to making it happen here for real, not just talking.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so that's why, like, I'm like, look, a holochain application on this
Yeah,
physical block of
yeah,
molecules that
it's
actually works.
mm,
That kind
that's
of
very
commitment to
satisfying to have
practicality
something in the hand.
is a piece also that I want to hold as we're
Mm.
reaching
Mm.
the end here.
Fine. And thanks to the community that is patient, and in particular people that have been in the beginning
Yeah.
supporting us.
Yes,
That's amazing.
it
So
really is. We have the same gratitude for people who've been with us for a long time and been very patient.
yeah, we have. This is nice. So I can tell you that in my former company, that was only business customers, and my memories are meeting room, water, PowerPoint. This is my memories. But now with the Volla system, I've also touched in the real users. And I can tell you that some of them send them their holiday photos because they're excited of the device. There was a customer who sent us a cake as a thank you. This is a much different feeling, how to do something. So this is very nice. And we can also add the community. I had an use case where I need to write a French press release. You know, French people don't read English press releases. And then I asked the community, look, I have an automatic translated French press release. Who can review it? And after an hour, I had reviewed a press release from a French translator. So this is how community is working, and it's so motivating, I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can only invite all the audience to stay in touch. We have a Telegram group. We have a Volla Messages group. Please join. And maybe we can also publish an invitation code to that video at the bottom. Why not?
That would be fantastic. Dr. Wertzer, Eric, thank you. Dr. Eric. Maybe it's Dr. Eric.
No, I don't have the credentials. Sorry. I'm okay with that.
Phenomenal discussion. Thank you both very much. Let's look forward to seeing how all of this goes. And I really feel like I'm not sure the best format, but I really feel like the implications still are like we touched on them 10, 15 minutes, but I feel like it's relatively untapped, only because the long-term large-scale possibility is so enormous. And so it's almost like we jump from chat on a device into a completely new way of humans coordinating. And I think like part of that, and what I'm hoping that might inspire some people that are watching, those series of steps in between, because to go from what we're doing now into into people experimenting with these models and scaling, is just a series of steps, isn't it? A series of people experimenting with things, trialing, and having new experiences. So let's see how having this in the wild goes. Let's see what feedback we get from people, and if any inspiration strikes from you both or anyone listening, please. Like, I'm sure there's a million ways of sharing that, and then we can jump on again and talk more about what's possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
So we didn't touch artificial intelligence and distributed learning. Think about we have on-board local speech recognition and speech synthesis. If we include in machine learning people of a community, they can speak their dialect and frankly talk how they used to talk in their daily life. And then they have a speech recognition that understands. So we can also use that social networks also for distributed machine learning, a huge opportunity. We name it supportive intelligence because I don't like artificial intelligence that tells the people what they should do and think. But we have that opportunity on the technical level to make also this happen. This is also a huge opportunity. Another inspiration. I think many people have other ideas, and they are invited to discuss with us.
Yep, can't wait. Thank you both. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes making this happen. But thank you to the two communities, and thank you to all the hard work from the various engineers as well that have made this possible, including the community engineers that are also building, not just team efforts, but there are a lot of other people involved in activating Holochain on mobile and all sorts of other things that have made this possible. So it's been a long journey over a couple of years and many years before that to get to that point, and looking forward to seeing how, yeah, the ripples that come off the back of it and what happens next. So thank you both very much, and have a wonderful day. And
Thanks.
that was,
Thanks.
yeah, signing off the ecosystem session.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I know. Yep. Okay. Let's just leave. Bye, everyone.
Okay.